From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
The keycard in my hand felt unnaturally cold, like holding a shard of ice that refused to melt. A faint, metallic scent, like old pennies and ozone, hung in the stale hotel corridor air. My phone screen glowed, showing his flight had landed hours ago. But his final text still promised a future that had already vanished. Every step down that hallway felt like wading through thick, clinging mud, the carpet damp and spongy underfoot. From behind a door, a soft, wet scratching sound began, rhythmic and deliberate, like claws on old wood. A primal understanding, cold and absolute, seized my muscles. I was not heading toward a reunion. I was walking, key in hand, directly into the silent, waiting space where his story had already ended. And he was the one who planned it. This was us. The scent of charcoal and summer hung in the air. We were happy then. For 12 years, it was Mark and Sarah against the world. He built his consulting empire from our concrete-floored sanctuary. I lived in the margins of every document, my fingerprints on his success. A partnership forged in ambition, now haunted by its own echo. We once dreamed of a family, a bigger home, the entire American promise. He was my anchor, my foundation, especially after the loss last year. Now the air in our house carries the faint, metallic scent of rain on old iron. A sticky, unnatural chill clings to the walls, whispering of promises broken. He'd hold me close, whispering, "We'll get through it, Sal. We always do." The Denver trip was routine, a potential big climb. He packed his blue suitcase, the one I bought him, kissed me goodbye at the door, and promised to call from the hotel. That was the last time I saw him. "Love you to the moon," he whispered, our intimate, foolish mantra. I watched his rental car vanish into the misty distance. The air thickened with the scent of damp asphalt and distant ozone. A faint, rhythmic scratching echoed from the empty street. My skin prickled with a sudden, clammy cold. That was the last time I saw my husband. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was dense, waiting. Our perfect phrase now tasted of iron and regret. The man I married, anyway. The escalation. Sarah sat rigid on her couch, the phone a cold, dead weight in her palm. Her screen glowed, displaying a flight tracker app. The words, "Flight 422, status, landed," were stark against the dark interface. The timestamp was highlighted, a digital marker of an arrival that should have been impossible. The music dropped to a low, pulsing synth. Sarah. The first fissure was minuscule. His flight touched down at 4:17 p.m. At 7:03 p.m., his text arrived. "Just landed. Bumpy ride." Phone was dead. The text came through. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," with a smiley face. Relief should have washed over me, knowing he was safe. But that 3-hour gap in his story, it festered in my mind like a splinter. I should have just been grateful he was okay. Yet a cold, sticky unease clung to me, refusing to be shaken off. But that unexplained 3-hour void, it itched at the edges of my sanity. In the quiet apartment, the only sound was the rhythmic scuff of my own footsteps, each one echoing the unanswered question louder than the last. Sarah dials Mark's number, only to be met with immediate, hollow voicemail. She tries the Denver Marriott next, her voice strained as she asks for him. The air in her own home feels suddenly thin and cold. Each unanswered call tightens a knot of quiet, gathering dread. The hotel clerk's voice came through the phone, filtered and distant. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no reservation under that name." Sarah's mind raced. Maybe he'd booked a different hotel for the client. The line went dead with a soft click. She called his partner, Mike. Each ring was a hollow echo in the quiet car. No answer, just the empty hiss of static and the cold, damp feeling of the vinyl seat beneath him. The phone log flashed on screen. "Mike, 2 minutes." Sarah's voiceover continued, tense and low. Mike's tone felt wrong, strange, unnatural. "Yeah, Denver, big meeting." He's probably networking, Sarah. You know how he gets. But the lie was palpable. A sticky, metallic taste of deceit in the air. I could hear the strain in the silence. She opened the laptop, its blue-white light carving her features from the gloom. The stale air smelled faintly of ozone and dust as she logged into their shared cloud. Each keystroke echoed in the stillness, a mechanical heartbeat in the dark. She clicked on a folder labeled Tax Docs 2022. That's when I did the thing you're never supposed to do. I went looking. I wasn't even sure what for. The air in the room grew heavy, thick with the scent of old paper and dust. In that old tax folder, I found a PDF. A cold, slick dread settled in my stomach as the file loaded. The life insurance policy lay on the desk, its $2 million value glaring back at me. It had been taken out exactly 6 months ago to the day. The air grew thick with the scent of ozone and old paper. My breath stopped completely, as if the room itself had stolen it away. The beneficiary wasn't me. It was something called the Veritas Trust. I Googled it. Nothing. No records. No history. Just that name staring back from the paper. The air in the room grew thick, carrying the scent of old paper and something metallic. A spectral presence lingered in the room. My heart hammered against my ribs with a frantic, panicked rhythm. I scrolled back through our phone book, the screen casting a sickly blue glow on my face. There was a number one that shouldn't have been there. The phone would ring weekly, sometimes daily, for 8 long months. Each call lasted less than a minute, a brief, cryptic intrusion into the silence. Then, the compulsion became too much. I dialed it. The phone's electronic trill cut through the heavy quiet of the room. A cheerful, recorded greeting played back, its professional warmth stark against the oppressive stillness. The metallic taste of ozone seemed to linger in the air after the message ended. Sarah's voice was a hesitant whisper in the dark, the single word hanging with unsettling weight. A doctor? But when I searched that number with its area code, I discovered it wasn't a medical office at all. The listing revealed a private psychiatry and therapy clinic, a clinic that specialized specifically in personality disorders and trauma. The sterile scent of antiseptic seemed to ghost through the phone line as I stared at the screen. Sarah's face went ashen as the truth settled in. The music swelled with a jarring, dissonant chord that seemed to vibrate in her bones. Her rock had been in therapy for nearly a year, and he had never breathed a word of it to her. The man who swore to keep no secrets was constructing a vault. Sarah drove through the inky night, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, the scent of damp earth seeping through the vents. A static hum filled her ears, like the air before a storm, as headlights carved tunnels through the relentless dark. Each mile deepened a gnawing dread, a cold certainty that the vault's silence held more than she could bear to know. I arrived at the generic, beige office park just after 8 in the morning. The sign read, Shaw and Associates, in unassuming block letters. I had to know what waited inside, so I walked straight through the glass doors. Before the receptionist could even speak, I saw her standing there in the sterile hallway. I found Dr. Allison Shaw standing in her office doorway, a manila file clutched in her hand. Our eyes locked across the sterile hallway. The air between us grew thick, carrying the faint, antiseptic scent of the ward. In that suspended moment, with absolute certainty, I understood. She knew. She recognized me immediately, her expression not one of surprise, but of profound pity. The air in the room thickened, carrying the sterile scent of antiseptic and something metallic beneath it. Her gaze felt like a physical weight, pressing down with an unspoken, terrible understanding. In that silent exchange, a deep, instinctual dread began to coil in my gut. In Dr. Shaw's dimly lit office, the air felt thick with unspoken secrets. Sarah leaned forward, her knuckles white against the armrests. A faint scent of old paper and ozone clung to the still air. Dr. Shaw's voice was a gentle, final warning. I cannot breach confidentiality, Sarah. The doctor's voice was thick, with forced sympathy. Sarah's question cut through the sterile air, her voice cracking like thin ice. Is my husband in Denver? Whew, she pleaded, the metallic scent of antiseptic clinging to her words. Is he even alive? The final word dissolved into a damp, ragged whisper. A heavy silence hung in the air before Shaw finally spoke. Mark is a profoundly complex man, he began, each word measured and deliberate. The persona he showed you was a careful construction, an elaborate facade. The man you thought you knew is simply gone. The psychiatrist's diagnosis was chilling. Mark suffered from dissociative identity disorder. A childhood trauma, buried so deep it became forgotten, was the root cause. The profound stress of our miscarriage last year finally shattered that psychological lock. The man I loved was merely one identity, among others now awakened in the dark. But there was another personality, one he called John. John was cold, logical, a pure survivalist who saw our entire existence, our crippling debt, my consuming grief, as nothing but a suffocating trap. He calculated our despair like a mathematical equation, a problem to be solved by any means necessary. In the video, Sarah's hands begin to tremble violently as the doctor's voice continues. Dr. Shaw slid a single, creased paper across the desk. The note was handwritten in a frantic scrawl. The air in the room seemed to thicken with the scent of old ink and dust. His voice dropped to a near whisper, each word deliberate and heavy. He left this with me, for you. The paper sat there, a silent, tangible weight in the quiet room. He said if you ever came, I should give this to you. The handwriting was Mark's, but transformed, each letter etched with a cold, deliberate fury. Then his voice, both familiar and alien, whispered from the page. Sarah, the man you love, is dead. The burden had finally become too heavy to bear. Now John was left to scrub away the evidence, the air thick with the metallic scent of bleach. The policy, the shattered trust, was all just a ledger entry, a brutal transaction to settle an unthinkable debt. And in Denver, the cold earth would soon give up its secret. Let it be. That's the final shred of mercy he can offer you now. Move on. Sarah staggered from the office, the world tilting violently around her. Then her phone buzzed, a sharp, insistent vibration against her thigh. The phone rings, and Sarah answers to hear Mike's panicked voice. His words come in ragged bursts, thick with dread. He chokes out the news. Police just called about an incident. Then the location hits her. Mark's hotel in Denver. They found him. I'm so sorry. The phone slipped from her numb fingers. Its impact on the wet pavement cracked through the night air. The metallic scent of the rain and the deeper, earthy smell of decay settled around her. Her gaze dropped to the note clutched in her other hand as the music swelled to a terrifying, silent crescendo. Sarah. The official police report would later list it as a heart attack. Natural causes. A tragic, mundane end for a man who had worked so hard. But the metallic scent of ozone still hung in the air where he fell, and the silence that followed was thick enough to swallow. The body lay there, identified by his driver's license and suitcase. The blue suitcase stood nearby, its presence incongruous and stark against the sterile room. His business trip had been meticulously planned, every detail flawless, a perfect stage, now set for a horror he never saw coming. And my husband was both the playwright and the corpse. In the present day, Sarah sits by the window. The same Austin Street outside, now washed in a flat, gray light. The air in the room is stale, carrying the faint, metallic scent of old rain and concrete. Her stillness is absolute, a quiet held so tightly it feels like the world itself is holding its breath. Her fingers tightened around the cracked hotel keycard, the plastic edges biting into her palm as she spoke directly to the camera. In Denver, they buried a man, a quiet, unmarked affair that left no questions asked. Then came the life insurance payout from a trust we'd never heard of, wiping our mortgage clean with unsettling precision. Mike sold the business without hesitation, and suddenly our story felt too tiny, too perfectly wrapped, like something had been arranged behind a curtain. A widow moved forward, finding solace in the mundane. But then, a month ago, this arrived. No return address. The postmark was Lisbon. Inside, we found only a single key card. It was for a hotel where we had never booked a room. This wasn't a message left for us. It was a receipt, a proof of something that should not exist. The video footage showed Sarah's eyes with terrifying lucidity. Her voice carried the metallic scent of a long-held secret. My husband didn't die that day, she revealed, each word sticking to the air like damp cloth. He executed his own identity, giving Mark a funeral so John could walk away free. So I ask you, which was the greater crime? The life he fabricated with me for 12 years? Or the fiction he crafted in death to flee from me? The air in the room grew dense, tasting of stale carpet, and the faint, metallic tang of old fear. Her final question lingered, a whisper that seemed to absorb all other sound of his face. Sarah. He's out there. Somewhere out there, he's still waiting. And in my most hollow moments, I can't tell if I'm searching for him, or if I'm terrified he might be hunting for me. The air carried the faint, metallic scent of ozone, like the calm before a storm, a slow, rhythmic dripping echoes from somewhere unseen, each drop a countdown in the stillness. Have you ever truly known the person you love?
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.